Welcome back, everybody. I'm now joined by Rich Shea. Thanks for joining us, Rich. I know it's after midnight for you. I know you are the Gremlin Lord, so this is not supposed to keep you up after midnight. I think that's one of the rules.
My penalty for being defeated is having to stay up and continue to do commentary. At this point, I am the Geist of Saint Rich, where I can only assume that I'm going to summon some ineffectual 1/2 ATOG token as I'm attacking or doing commentary or blocking. So as soon as I realized what was happening, I realized that I ought to have pitched Dak Faden instead of Mental Misstep there. But
Game 3 when Brian goes for the Leovold, and you guys wind up in a super long fight where, if you'd had the second Mental Misstep, you would have actually stopped Leovold from coming into play. We were wondering about that. It seemed like a close call.
And the problem is that I can't actually deal with Mr. Faden. I can't deal with Leovold. He's just too good. I immediately got defeated and then went online and bought my third Leovold so I can build Ifro's deck.
Fair.
Literally.
Leovolds have looked very good tonight. I mean, if you look at the way the bracket has played out, 2 Mentor decks, 2 Leovold decks. The Mentor decks are going to finish 3-4. The Leovold decks are going to finish 1-2. And every time they got paired against each other, Leovold won. It was a clean 3-0 sweep.
Yeah. I mean, Leovold dismantles Gush. Leovold also dismantles Paradoxical Outcome.
It's true. The tricky bit, the vulnerability surely is that the mana base is flawed in a workshop meta.
Yeah, I mean, you end up with a garbage mana base, but that's never stopped Brian Kelly before. He thrives in that sort of environment. I feel like if you made a Brian Kelly Invitational card, it would have that ability where it gets bigger for each color that you pay into it.
Sunburst.
Sunburst, that's right. Sure.
Interesting. I'm not as worried about Brian Kelly as I am worried about what I can win with on Saturday in the Power
9. I haven't gotten that far yet. My brain's mostly on, man, I'm still awake doing commentary. Where did I go wrong in life? But
come on, Rich. This is the last VSL commentary you get to do for months.
See, you're rubbing in the fact that I just got.
Oh, I didn't mean to rub that part in. I didn't even get to play tonight. Does mean the season's coming to its natural end?
It's natural being that Ifro moves on, apparently, because that is the custom of Vintage Super League.
Hey, Brian Kelly has made the playoffs of every season he's ever played.
Well, I'm rooting for Brian Kelly. I'm rooting for the Dragon Lord. I guess he's inherited that mantle from Kibler. I think it's fair to say that. When was the last time you saw Brian Kibler casting a Dragon Lord?
Within vintage circles, I can give it to you. Kibler's had a little bit bigger impact on Standard and Pro Tours. They have these Pro Tours. I don't know if you're aware of this, where everybody gets together and plays formats that only use cards from the last couple of years. They're really popular.
I went to one of those. I've been to a few of those, actually. I think the last one I went to was PT Montreal. I just sort of woke up one day and decided to go to a PTQ and won it with some seal deck. And apparently you can't do that anymore, so I haven't been to a Pro Tour in a very long time.
Okay. I think you could still do that on Magic Online, by the way. If only you had play points to enter with.
Oh man, I've been burning through my play points. I'm down to 1663 play points, which is down from like 5,000. I've slowly been converting them into tickets.
Okay.
And I guess that sort of worked out. So, but I guess that's still enough to enter a bunch of things with play points.
Yeah. Including PTQs.
Including PTQs. So there are PTQs on Magic the Gathering online?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not allowed to play in them, but my understanding is it's usually have to win a qualifier to then get into the actual PTQ itself. So it's not a one tournament spike. You don't get to spike one tournament. You kind of have to qualify. But I think they also have, you definitely can have the Magic Online Championship seems like the thing that actually be a little more your speed. And there are now open events for Mitgo champs now. You can just spike one tournament, go to next year's $200,000 Magic Online Championship.
I've been given to understand that I can use I've never used a qualifier point for anything. I've just accumulated a lot of. I have 123 of them, and I've never used them for anything.
Okay, don't they take them away from you periodically?
Yeah, they keep taking them away, and I keep getting more and wondering what I'm supposed to do with them. At some
You're
point,
supposed to join the Mox qualifiers. Yes, that's what the whole Mox system is for.
Can I play a Mox in them?
Can you do a what?
Can I play a Mox in them?
No.
They're terribly.
You cannot play a Mox in the box. I don't think they've ever had a vintage format Mox.
That's like having an Invitational where ATOGs are banned.
It's spelled differently, but Gremlins are okay, I'm sure.
Gremlins are never okay, Randy.
Especially after midnight. Understood. Noted. I believe you could play a Mox. Sometimes they'll have like cube draft for the Mox, and you could draft a Mox potentially in the Mox.
Oh.
But enough puns. Well, sorry, never enough puns. Enough babbling. Let's go watch some Magic.
All right.
Hello and welcome to the finals of this wildcard group. Eric Froelich is undefeated. Brian Kelly is going to have to beat him twice if he wants the spot in next week's VSL playoffs. It is Leovold versus Leovold. So Leovold turned out to be the deck to show up with this week. Part of that is because both these guys had Monastery Mentor decks in their crosshairs. You see Eric with the Dread of Night sitting in his opening hand. He's got the Brainstorm. Literally, the only thing he can do with the Dread of Night in his entire deck is Brainstorm, put it back in, and shuffle it away with a fetch land. But he's got the combo. So, that Dread is actually, it is a magic card. You can put it back with Brainstorm. That's it.
Brian Kelly has the sick combo of being on the draw and having Library of Alexandria.
But I'm excited about Eric's combo.
I guess that's kind of fun. You can put away your complete brick with your Brainstorm, but in order to do that, it has to resolve, and Brian Kelly could still draw a Flusterstorm or a Mental Misstep here. Yeah,
and especially seeing that hand, he now is highly incentivized to counter that Brainstorm.
I wonder what that Mox Pearl is for. Brian could have played a...
So he tapped his library main.
Played a Sapphire and then cast a cantrip.
Fair.
In fact, I'm surprised that Brian didn't play a Mox Sapphire and then dig for a Mental Misstep.
Fair. Eric's Brainstorm is important. He found the Strip Mine! I was about to say, not only is it important for putting the Dread back, but he needs to find a Library of Alexandria answer, and mission accomplished.
He can put back Dread of Night, and then Strip Mine, and then next turn shuffle, and he'll still shuffle his brick away.
Yeah, he can also make the greedy line of Fetch Land Mox Time Walk.
That's what Brian Kelly wants to happen, because then Brian Kelly gets to Mindbreak Trap.
Yeah, I saw that Mindbreak Trap. There's one Mindbreak Trap in Brian's list that Eric would be risking?
Ephro knows that he has this, though.
In his list? He hasn't seen his hand.
That's true. He knows that he has one in his list, so he knows to play around it. So I guess this is where, it looks like Ephro is going for the line.
Play around it means consider the fact that he might have it, but he's not a favorite to have it. This is kind of a tricky judgment call, in my opinion. And he's going to play it safe. He's just going to play the Strip Mine, make sure he doesn't run into a Mindbreak Trap. I think that's wise.
Yeah, this is incredibly well played. But I mean, Ephro's just been nothing but great plays. He's been really, really sharp in all the Vintage Super Leagues. So Brian Kelly loses his library, just like in real life. There's no more Library of Alexandria, and Ephro can draw, and he's going to be able to cast that Painful Truth spell.
True.
Exactly. And
it's going to get mana drained, isn't it?
Yeah, and he can force back pitching Time Walk.
Yeah, that's the line. This is actually... So Painful Truth is the first spell of the turn, right?
Yep. So it looks like Brian's not going to be able to make use of that Mindbreak Trap because Ifro sequenced this so well.
Had to play the Jet last turn and do nothing with it, but that's exactly what Eric did.
He played that incredibly well.
Wow.
I feel like
he played that Jet last turn, and I was thinking, oh, he's going to go for the Time Walk line. But no, he was literally just playing it last turn so that it wouldn't accidentally turn on Mindbreak Trap this turn.
What a great play.
Super smart sequencing. And now he's up a couple cards, so he's happy to just trade.
But Brian Kelly's going to be able to start digging through time.
Yeah, the problem with Eric's draw, I mean, he's done a bunch of super smart things, but he's got these two Abrupt Decays that don't seem like they do a whole lot in the matchup. He wanted to kill Mentors. He wanted to kill Jaystron's Prodigy. He went up to the full 4 Abrupt Decays, specifically because he put both you and Rachel on Mentor.
Yeah, and he got it right. So...
I mean, I guess they're still fine in the matchup. They do kill Leovold. That seems like a creature you need to kill.
They're not useless, believe me. I wish that I had an uncounterable answer to Leo. So Brian's playing it slow. I think what he's hoping to do is probably wait until Ifro's played 2 spells, maybe, and in response to the second spell, he's going to be able to gush, dig through time. Okay. What he really wants to find off this is a Gush, because Gush will let him draw some cards, use his land drop, play Tiny Jace, and pass with Dig Open.
Found a misstep.
Well.
Wow, he's not even going to play Jace. He's going to represent... Oh, he's leaving up Mindbreak Trap. That's what he's doing. I was thinking it was the actual, like, I'll leave up 2 blue and make you play around Mana Drain. Wait, doesn't he only have 1 Mana Drain?
He only has the Miser's Drain.
All right. He's not even representing Mana Drain.
So Ifro...
You know how long it's been since somebody could represent a Mana Drain?
Ifro now has essentially a clock that's going to make Brian Kelly do something. So this is actually a pretty strong... It's a deceptively strong draw for Ifro.
Yep. Brian does, in fact, have some things that can force him to react to. Jace, in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, wow. Is he actually going to be able to counter an Abrupt Decay here? Mindbreak Trap removes it from the stack, so...
Yep, right out of the game. So he could do that. He could also dig through time. Brian's being very... Wow. Brian's being very conservative with his lines here. Now that land wasn't what he was hoping for. I mean, if he had a Gitaxian Probe, he'd know the coasts were clear.
Hello. Eric can play Jace with Flusterstorm available to defend it with. There's a ton of mana on Brian's side, though. That Flusterstorm doesn't actually do enough.
No. No. It would actually work out really badly for Ifro to play the Jace here.
I mean, he just trades it for the Mindbreak Trap, right? But I guess tapping out... It's actually Eric who's representing permission with untapped land. Brian is giving Eric a ton of respect here. He's just been sitting on this dig through time forever.
For all of time. I mean, both players are demonstrating a lot of patience. Both players have bombs in hand that they could be playing but aren't. But I feel like Brian Kelly is obligated to start throwing his spells around.
Yes, Eric is sitting on library and he's up to 6 cards. You must do something. Maybe end step dig with Mindbreak Trap and misstep available to defend it with?
How could you not? Yeah,
it has to be time.
Certainly going to now.
How many strip mine effects does Brian play?
I think just the one.
Just the one strip?
I think so.
He didn't do it.
Yeah, just the Miser strip mine.
He waited and went to his main phase.
Wow.
Now he's going to dig. And he's not going to crack his Flooded Train first, so...
Man, I don't know. I'm not playing anymore, but I sure like doing it on Ifro's end step.
Yeah, that's what I would have done too. Flusterstorm not going to stop this, so Eric has to just watch it resolve. Basically,
anyway,
7 out of 40. Brian is very much just fishing for strip mine here. I mean, there's lots of good cards, but if he doesn't find the strip mine, I think Eric's library is going to have time to take this game over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he needs some. I guess Leo also threatens the library, but Ifro's going to be able to go to his turn, stack a card, and
Jace
then
and Ancestral. Okay, if we weren't going to find strip mine, those are some perfectly reasonable consolation plans.
that's certainly pretty good. I mean, this is way more powerful than a library.
Right, here is Jace. Can't Flusterstorm it. Can't blow it up with Abrupt Decay.
Ifro's build doesn't have red, so he actually can't handle Jace the Mind Sculptor very well.
Correct. He can play a Leovold, which basically beats it.
Oh, wow. I think Brian Kelly can actually cast both Delve spells in one turn.
Flusterstorm is actually getting turned on now, though. Oh, but I guess, yeah, Flusterstorm just is live. Storm counts up to 3.
I often... No, it used to tell you the storm count on your Flusterstorm, and it doesn't anymore, and sometimes it tells you on the right side of the screen, and sometimes it doesn't.
I think it tells you if you're holding a card with Storm.
Okay. Hey, there's Leo. That's actually a really good draw for Ifro. Now it's going to get Mindbreak trapped.
But that can get Flusterstormed.
It can. Wow.
All right, so Eric got to use his library. He built up a hand, got to 7. Here's Leovold. Brian Kelly chose not to Treasure Cruise on his turn, basically so that he could leave up the ability to hard cast Mindbreak Trap. That's going to drop him to 1 mana, though.
And, wow, so Flusterstorm... Oh, he's going
to Ancestral first. Interesting. Eric found a second Flusterstorm.
2 Flusterstorms. He can actually counter this and then counter the subsequent Mindbreak Trap.
Wow. Huh.
Interesting.
Let it resolve.
Let it resolve.
That is surprising to me.
You know what would be useful? If you could just click a button and have the storm counter go on or off. I mean, for one thing, it gives you information about what your opponent's doing, so that's not good. And for another, if I'm playing a storm deck, I probably want to know storm regardless of the contents of my hand. So I don't know why you can't toggle it.
Wow, what a crazy sequence. So Eric chose not to Flusterstorm Brian's Ancestral, and Brian chose not to Mindbreak Trap Eric's Leovold. Now, Brian did know about one of the Flusterstorms, maybe?
He might have. So I guess Brian can bounce and let Ifro take a card, which I guess is what he's doing. So maybe that was Brian's clever plan. He's going to be able to start digging this turn.
Yeah, it's Eric's side that surprises me more. It's not because the Flusterstorms don't do much after Brian untaps. Oh, I guess the problem is, sorry. I in my head, Brian had already allocated the 4 mana to the Mindbreak Trap, but Brian would have just paid for his Ancestral. He would have sacked Black Lotus to pay. That's why Eric doesn't Flusterstorm. Flusterstorm would essentially have just been destroy target Black Lotus.
See, there's no storm for now. But both players having... Oh, there it is. Okay. So storm became 1.
Treasure Cruise resolves. Brian finds a Leovold of his own.
Wow. Everyone gets a Leovold these days.
He's going to look at Eric's hand and draw the card off Gataxian Probe while Leovold is in it.
Ugh. Ugh. Ugh.
Eric is still on library. I mean, I think that Jace is better than library, so the library is not
Well, if
insane
library
for him.
is a subset of all, then I have to agree with you. So, do you think that we're witnessing the dawn of a new archetype here based around Gush and Leo teaming up, or do you think this is a called shot for the expected metagame of, well, me and Rachel?
I definitely think part of what's going on here is metagaming against you and Rachel. But at the same time, we are starting to see more and more success from Leovold. Leovold decks in general. I don't know, Leovold plus Gush. Like, Brian hasn't even won. Eric won the first time they played, and Eric doesn't have Gush.
That's true.
I think we're going to see more and more people trying to figure out what's the best way to build Leovold.
Yeah. Oh, man. This gets mind break trapped, which is awkward for Ifro because that's the way you counter this. And he's already won.
I mean, he does play 4. But, I mean, his hand is so mana hungry. I think he had to tap out for this. I mean, he wishes he had one more blue mana so that he could Flusterstorm. But he had to hold lands and build up the library. I don't think Eric's done anything wrong
Brian
here.
Kelly is going to discard instead of countering that.
What?
I don't know. Maybe Brian's tired too. He also lives here on the East Coast, so maybe it's also late for him.
He's going to Ancient Grudge the Jet.
Yeah, why not? Think of the value there. 2 mana Stone Rain, and Ifro is a little choked on land. This is actually going to mean that Ifro can't play both Jace and Leo.
Yeah, I think part of the reason Brian let that resolve is that he knows he has to deal with Eric's Leovold. And so Mindbreak Trap is the only counter he has for Eric's Leovold. He doesn't value his own that much. He's the one with Jace. If Brian can keep Eric's Leovold off the table, then Brian gets to win with Mind Sculptor.
Leo kind of counters Leo, at least part of it, in the sense that it shuts down the bonus card draw.
Yeah, but mostly Brian wants to keep his Jace turned on. So I got to imagine, having let his Leo die to an Abrupt Decay that Mindbreak Trap actually could have stopped, it has to be because he was saving the Mindbreak Trap for this.
Oh, it must be. Oh, well, here's Gush.
Does Eric win this fight with the second Flusterstorm? Brian's going to Gush as a response, and then presumably he's going to Mindbreak Trap.
Oh, well, no, Inferno Titan just wins the fight.
I can't even tell if you're serious anymore.
What? I'm always serious.
Inferno Titan is the mirror breaker because it kills Leovold dead?
Look at all those useless cards in Ifro's hand. They don't deal with Inferno
What's
Titan.
going on? Okay, so he let the Leovold resolve this time because his big plan is Inferno Titan?
Yeah. Brian's going to burninate that card.
Lets his Leovold die. Doesn't use the Mindbreak Trap is just sitting there watching this whole game. He's like, is it time? Now, coach? Can I counter something? Oh, you don't counter things. You remove them from the stack. Can I remove something from the stack, coach? Put me in.
We're just going to have this crazy, ridiculous game, and it's just going to end with Brian Kelly casting this fire-breathing giant and just breathing fire all over Leovold.
I mean, look at Eric's hand. Inferno Titan's great against that hand.
Yeah, Ifro can't deal with this. All Ifro's hand does is play a creature that soaks 1 point of Burnination and then punches himself for 3. I mean, if Ifro
can bounce it, that's exciting, right?
If Ifro plays Jace, then Brian Kelly gets
All right, Eric has left up Snapcaster Mage, is what Eric has done.
Yeah, Brian has Time Walk. This is great for Brian. Brian has so many cards we can't even display all of them.
Inferno Titan. It's not even green. How can you have a 6-mana fatty in your Green Sun Zenith control list that you can't even get with Green Sun Zenith? Did you try to talk him out of this, Richey?
I I've learned that Brian Kelly builds these decks, and they tend to be awesome and amazing, and I don't always understand them, but I've learned to trust him.
All right.
I mean, like I told,
Can you imagine the look on Eric's face right now?
don't laugh.
Like he's playing this control fight masterfully. He's left up these 2 Flusterstorms.
Yep.
He's played around everything except he can't deal with a 6/6 creature that has a half a Flame Tongue Kavu.
Yeah, and this is how Brian beat me too.
All right, what is Snap? Does the Snapcaster Mage get something relevant here?
I think Brainstorm.
Brainstorm.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a Force of Will, but he doesn't have the mana to cast it.
Nope. And Snapcaster Mage, unlike Tiago, doesn't let you flashback card for the alternate cost because it literally gives them flashback.
Right.
So I guess he's going to go for the Brainstorm. The problem is that, well, Brian has all the mental missteps he's ever needed.
Sure.
Wow. I mean, even Jace the Mind Sculptor is going to look embarrassing against this giant M13 monster.
I mean, I guess Eric gets to Fluster from the Time Walk. That's something? No, the Mindbreak Trap will be turned on again.
Yeah, Mindbreak Trap legitimately counters this.
Though he can Flusterstorm that.
But the champ
All right.
Storm back. This is
Brainstorm. No, sir. Mental misstep. How desperate is Eric Froelich to resolve this Brainstorm? Does he spend a Flusterstorm here?
Oh, man. This is pretty amazing. All right. So I feel like Brian Kelly can just let this happen.
Yeah, you let the Flusterstorm resolve. Then, like, the question is, do you spend your other misstep?
Oh, yeah. Why not?
I think I agree. Let the Flusterstorm resolve. Then point a new misstep at the Brainstorm. I gotta say, when I was thinking about what might happen on Vintage Super League tonight, I was not imagining the climactic fight over an Inferno Titan that wanted to kill Leovold.
Sometimes you really want to kill Leovold. Look at this. This is just going to break open the game. That's my problem. I didn't have an Inferno Titan in my deck.
You're just going to put one in your, like, 14 land Turbo Xerox deck?
Oh, yeah, why not? I mean, Brian Kelly can make it work in Gush.
Draws a misstep off the Leovold trigger.
That's perfect.
Chase has been freed from his shackles.
Wow. This also lets Brian Kelly time walk. Brian Kelly will win the time walk fight. Oh, this is over. Brian has Force and Red Blasts. And even if Ifro Flusterstorms, Brian actually wins the Flusterstorm fight with Lotus plus Flusterstorm.
Or with Mindbreak Trap.
Yeah, either one. It's at his discretion. But, so, I guess Brian wasn't content to get one card. Brian wants 8 cards with his Mindbreak Trap, which he can do now. Wow. This was just masterfully played by Brian Kelly. And I think he's lethal now. That actually kills Ifro.
Not quite, but close enough.
It does. It's lethal. It's actually lethal.
9.
What? No. It has fire breathing.
Oh, I forgot about the fire breathing.
Yeah. Ability of fire breathing.
My apologies. I missed the fire breathing.
Well,
what is going on, Rich Shea?
I don't know. I don't know. Brian Kelly happened. This is how Brian Kelly works.
I love that this final is 2 brews. Both of these guys set about to build a Leovold brew that can handle Mentor. And
Rachel and I showed up with these really boring decks, and yeah, and then Ifro has a pretty interesting deck, and Brian Kelly just went full on Inferno Titan.
He didn't transform either, right?
No.
None of the games he played against Mentor did he bring in the Oath package.
Nope, not interested. That's...
What is it there for if it's not there for Mentor?
It's for Thorn decks. Mentor decks.
Oh, okay.
Basically, shops are vulnerable to Oath in a way that they aren't vulnerable to, say, Inferno Titan. Though I guess you leave Inferno Titan in if you're turning into an Oath deck. See?
Right.
It bridges the gap.
No, I got the fact that the Oath transform is what allows him to have an Inferno Titan in his 75.
Well, for some decks, it's allowed.
I still find it weird that it's not a thing that can be Green Sun stuff.
It's absurdly weird, but at the same time, I mean, it's how he beat me. There was basically nothing else that he could have done. Wow, and
Eric Mulligan's into a draw that.
I mean, I would keep that.
Yeah,
it has double force. But man, Brian Kelly is going to get so much value out of that Gitaxian probe. Wow. Man, look how good Gitaxian Probe is here. Brian knows to play around the Wasteland and to play around the double force. I mean, this is huge. Brian now knows that he can just play it slow, take it easy. He needn't hurry or rush this or anything of the sort. I don't know if Brian has room for basic lands in his deck, but...
That's a good question. And obviously sitting on a fetch land helps play around Wasteland a little bit.
I'm gonna take a look. And
one island.
One island, okay. Look at that. All right, so well, I don't know why we have Sudden Shock in our deck.
This is game 2, yes?
Well, yes. Ifro doesn't have anything to hit with Sudden Shock, does he?
I mean, you can kill a Snapcaster Mage.
And Brian's cognizant of the force of will that he's walking into here.
Yeah, I think he figured, I'm going to trade Force of Will. I'm going to trade Ancestral for Force of Will and another good blue card. Eric actually values both of his other spells highly enough that he pitched the second Force.
So, the thing about Brian Kelly is that I have no idea why he left Sudden Shock in, but I'm sure it'll win him the game.
I can kill a Planeswalker if you time it right, sort of. It's never actually killing a Mind Sculptor, though. Man, yeah, I don't know why Sudden Shock's in his list right now. I don't think killing Snapcaster is what you care about with Snapcaster.
Probably not. I don't know. I feel like when I was playing Rachel, I felt like the card that we wanted was Exquisite Firecraft to deal 4 to each other, because that just seems great in the Sylvan Mentor mirror. I mean, both players basically start the game at 3 life anyway.
Brian Kelly goes Gitaxian Probe, Gush.
Oh. Brian's hand is terrible.
It's not good. Eric's just like, I'm going to hold on to these good cards and hope you can't do anything for a while.
If Ifro draws a Mox, he's just jacing.
Yup.
Wow. Oh no, you can't cast him because
Leovold, the Wasteland.
Hardest thing to cast ever.
Land for Brian Kelly.
And Ifro needs a land, and Brian Kelly needed not land. Hey, look, land for Ifro. So I guess Ifro just wins on the spot because Brian has Sudden Shock in his deck.
Yeah? I mean, I assume Eric slams one of these. I mean, I guess from Eric's perspective, he has to decide which one he would rather get feed to the hypothetical Force of Will that Brian might have. I don't know what the answer is to that. I guess it's the Mind Sculptor because that's the one Brian knows about.
Yeah, the other thing is...
Uses his mana more efficiently too, I guess.
Yeah.
And now Eric is just, what? What do you mean it resolves? Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Sudden Shock here. I don't know.
I have no idea why Sudden Shock's in this list. It makes no sense to me at all.
Well, I guess Ephro's winning this game then. Brian Kelly will probably just draw another land because that's all he's doing this game.
He needs to top deck something immediately.
He does. This is sort of a miser die turn for him.
And...
Ugh. It's a mind
trap. That is not going to get the job done.
No.
So now Eric, I mean, he's got some sequencing decisions, I guess. He's got both the cruise and the dig. He can't really delve for both of them.
He can brainstorm, find a land, play Leo, protect Leo. He can get
I think what he wanted to do was get a blue source so that he could Leovold with Flusterstorm back.
Which he can do.
Which he now found.
Yeah.
It also lets him shuffle 2 cards away with the Jace. Yeah, that Misty Rainforest is a really nice find. You're shuffling away.
We get rid of Painful Truths and the dig.
I agree with you on Delve Spell, but I like Painful Truths here. I think the library is... You're just not close to the library.
I'm an optimist.
Yeah, and I think Brian has no choice but to try to Mindbreak Trap this Leovold. And Eric went digging, found that Misty Rainforest, and Flusterstorm is online.
Yeah. So Brian's going to be...
It's funny. There's almost enough mental missteps to pay. Yeah. Brian is going to tap out, though, and then he'll have 2 mental missteps versus 3 copies of Flusterstorm targeting his Mindbreak Trap.
That's frustrating.
Yeah, he's 1 short.
So this game has gone terribly, terribly awry for Brian.
Look at the sequencing from Eric. He's like, you know what? If you've got a gush, I want you to up the storm count for me. So he goes ahead and spends his wasteland now before we get to the Flusterstorm portion of the festivities. That was just an attempt to add to the storm count in case Brian was going to gush out from under the wasteland.
Eric's playing this fantastically. And now, Sudden Shock looks even worse.
And a Mox Pearl. Yeah, no, Brian scoops him up. I agree with that decision. Let's go to game 3.
All right.
Now, recall that Eric is up a match in the series already, so Brian needs to win this game, and then he's going to have to run it back and win another match. If Eric Froelich can win this game, he goes to the playoffs.
Brian doesn't really have anything in his sideboard to bring in, actually.
Is that why he's got the stupid Sudden Shock?
Yeah.
There's literally nothing?
I mean, you could have a Gristlebrand.
You could transform. If he's not going to transform, wouldn't you rather have it? Oh, he is going to transform. All right, here we go.
Holy moly.
Love it.
Wow. Brian Kelly transforming into Oath because I don't know. Why wouldn't he? The most Brian Kelly thing I can think of is oathing into Leovold, but apparently he's cutting them. I guess he's so angry at Sudden Shock that he's cutting them, even if it means that he's becoming an Oath deck against a deck with 4 Abrupt Decays.
Yeah, I would have rather had Steel Sabotage on my list, I think, than Sudden Shock. It's just because it's blue.
Sure, it pitches.
That's better than what Sudden Shock does, I think.
Well, the bar is low. So I guess
very low.
All right, so Brian Kelly full transformed. Wow, just full werewolf mode.
So he's still got 1 Leovold. He took out the Green Sun Zeniths. He took out the Deathrite Shaman. He took out the Managorger Hydra. So his creature set is going to be Blazing Archon Grizzlebrand, Inferno Titan, and 1 Leovold. Because of course it is.
This is great.
He brought in the 2 copies of Forbidden Orchard.
Brian Kelly is amazing. I'm so glad that we get to see this.
Yeah, this is cool. Back against the wall, though, he must win this game.
Yes. Otherwise, I get to go to sleep.
Right. I don't know how many people are actually rooting for Brian Kelly to win this game. The show
I want Brian to win, but I also want to call it a night. So, I'm stoic about the outcome.
You can't lose.
Exactly. So, Brian has a perfectly reasonable hand featuring Steel Sabotage. I feel like there's a chance he'll just snap keep to be able to just get a Mox or something and feel really good about himself. And if Ifro actually does happen to Mize a Lotus on his turn, Brian's going to feel really good.
Taxian Probe sees a collection of things.
Yep, there are some things.
Eric does need colored mana, is what Eric needs. Can't cast his Abrupt Decay yet, can't cast his Painful Truths yet.
Yep, the Brian also needs a second island to be able to cast Gush. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Their hands are pretty similar. They both need to get something.
I gotta say, the Oath plan into 4 times Abrupt Decay, I don't know if I love.
Brian is a courageous wizard. He's not afraid of things like Abrupt Decays.
Both players on Fetch Land and the Strip Mine.
Yeah. There's only that one art available in Magic the Gathering Online for Strip Mine. Not the other 3 arts that are available for that card.
Didn't they make a Masterpiece version?
Let's be realistic. There's only one real art available in Magic the Gathering.
I see how it is.
Yes. But in real life, you can choose from 4 arts. There's the Tower. I mean, they all look very similar. They're all by the same artist. But they don't have that on Magic the Gathering Online.
Well, here's the Oath of Druids that Brian has transformed into. Do you just...
Terrible here. I mean, if he plays it, not only is Ifro 1 mana away from Abrupt Decaying it, but it walks Brian Kelly into getting Strip Mined.
Quite the interesting staring contest they've gotten themselves into.
Yeah.
7 cards to 7 cards.
I like saying go, because if Ifro doesn't draw something, then he ends up having to discard.
Strip your Strip Mine, says Brian Kelly. Eric's like, all right, I mean, I'll make you use your Misty.
What's really awkward here, though, is that Ifro still has 3 Wastelands in his deck, and... So how do you feel about Brian Kelly's choice of basic island?
The Landbox Island, basically.
It's...
Look, I can respect not caring. I can totally respect whatever Magic Online randomly gives me will be fine. This Brainstorm did, in fact, find a Tropical. It did not find a reshuffle effect, so Brian is sort of Brainstorm locked, but Tropical is great.
Well, he's only sort of Brainstorm locked. I mean, he has Force of Will, which is really good.
Yeah, none of his cards are bad. It's not like he's desperate for something. He's going to be able to leave up Mana Drain eventually. He's going to be able to cast his Oath. They're still in a bit of a staring contest, and I guess Brian has not played a land this turn, right?
He did not play a land, did he?
Strip Mine was last turn, I'm pretty sure.
So, yeah, and also, Still Sabotage is looking really good right here. It pitches to Force, and think of how amazing it would be to hit a Mox with that.
Yeah.
That's the stuff dreams are made of right there.
Eric draws Force of Will, so 8 spells in his hand. He's going to be forced to discard here. Down goes second Painful Truths. Brian not going to be drawing more lands, but he does get to sit on Flusterstorm, Steel Sabotage, Force of Will.
Drain. Yeah, and I feel like he just doesn't play anything here because...
Did he really put his Mana Drain 2 down? Didn't he have a Mana Drain? Are we imagining this?
No, he did.
It's on top of his library, then.
So Brian doesn't really play Magic the Gathering Online very much. I have to imagine that he just didn't know how that worked.
Put it back first, thinking it would be on top? Maybe. I mean, it's not like he has anything to spend the mana on, and it's not like he got punished, but...
So...
Wow, he's going to Gush?
Wow.
He's got 8 cards, so Brian, I think, feels like he has to do something.
He can also play the Oath.
Yeah. Well, that's the something that made the most sense to me was... Well, he floats Oath mana and casts his Gush.
Man.
And Eric's probably looking over like, you have 11 cards in your hand, dude. I'm not fighting over your Gush. Fine, play a land, you're at 10.
Oh,
then
so
what?
he can play Leo.
Okay. Reasonable.
Now, sadly, Leo is particularly poorly suited against Abrupt Decay, but so is Oath of Druids. Basically, Leo could
doesn't play the Leo. He goes for Preordain here.
Wow.
He's going to Preordain into Oath, I guess?
I guess so. I mean, what do you want off Preordain? I feel like you just want Moxen so that you can not have to discard.
Sure.
Is that a Treasure Cruise?
Looks like a Treasure Cruise to me. All right, here's Basic Island, and here's the Oath of Druids, which Eric is going to say, okay. I have an Abrupt Decay, and you haven't shown me a Forbidden Orchard anyway.
Brian could really use Spellbook here.
Right. I mean, because Brian has all these cards in his hand, I think Eric says, okay, he might choose to fight over it in a different context, but not with 9 cards in Brian's hand.
I mean, this is great for Ephra. If he can decay this, Brian can't stop it. And even if Brian had misdirection, he couldn't stop it.
Right. Now, Eric has to think in his end step, is there anything that punishes me? I really want Brian to discard 2 cards. But no, there's nothing. The Mindbreak Trap's not turned on.
No.
There's no misdirection, so you just end step decay the Oath, I think.
There's full on nothing in Brian's 75 that could possibly prevent him from discarding 2 here.
Yeah, I'm sure Eric is just going over the deck list right now to make sure that's true. And the fact that Eric has a full grip of 7 means he really is incentivized to spend this 2 mana now. Because if he untaps and draws a spell, he's going to want to not have to discard or tap out.
Dave Williams in the chat says, "This is a horror show. Thank God the kids are in bed."
I didn't warn you guys it was a stamina contest? Who can play the best after midnight?
I mean, I'm in no position to criticize anyone for suboptimal plays after midnight.
The real secret to Ephra's success is living in Vegas?
Apparently.
Pretty sure there's more to it than that, but
it could be the beard.
Eric does finally draw a 3rd land, so if he wants to tap out for Painful Truth, yeah, you totally tap out for Painful Truths. He's got 2 Force of Wills, handful of blue cards.
This has to feel terrible for Brian Kelly.
Yeah, for sure. This just did not work out. Yeah, the Gush. Like, I can understand tapping out for Oath of Druids. I just really didn't like the Gush last turn. Because it put him in this position where he just gave Eric the option of not fighting anything and making Brian discard.
Yeah, I don't know if I particularly love the Gush there.
All right. Eric is going to fight to defend his Painful Truths. I think that makes sense. Snapcaster Mage is the target. Snapcaster particularly weaker now that he realizes Brian has transformed into Oath. Ooh, Crucible of Worlds.
Ooh, wow.
That's good times. There's a Strip Mine in Eric's graveyard. So this game, Eric may be about to lock this game up.
Well, sad to say, Brian can cast Oath, but he can't do anything with it. I think Brian has to go for the draw 3 here. He can defend it.
He can cruise with Flusterstorm up, too, which is nice.
What is he doing? It looks like Brian does not want to draw 3 cards.
I don't know if Eric's supposed to counter this.
I'm
leaning toward yes.
Eric is so far
but Eric has to be looking at that Crucible of Worlds as the more important thing he's got going on.
No, why not both? I mean, the way...
Why not both? He doesn't have any way to defend Crucible if he spends his Force of Will on this Oath of Druids. Yeah, I get how Eric landed here. If the hands were face up, he would have Force of Will the Oath because Brian is now drawing live to a Forbidden Orchard that could actually turn his Oath on. And Eric currently doesn't have an answer for that. But Eric knows Brian has no Forbidden Orchard yet. And Eric knows that Crucible Strip Mine is just going to nuke Brian back to the Stone Ages.
And Brian only has 2 in his deck.
Right. He sideboarded in 2 copies of Forbidden Orchard. That's what he's drawing to. He is never going to get up to 3 mana for Leovold. I mean, I guess Moxes can get him there, hypothetically.
So it looks like in order to be able to do this, he has to play his land to be able to defend his cruise, but...
Interesting. You want him to play Misty so that he can Flusterstorm and defend Treasure Cruise.
The only reason not to is if he thinks he can't actually win this game otherwise.
Well, he may be hoping to cruise into a Forbidden Orchard and turn the oath on before Eric can find an answer.
Hmm. Yeah. There's the Flusterstorm stranded in Brian's hand.
Brian may also have put Eric on not having Force of Will when Eric let the oath resolve. Yeah, Eric.
Cool.
I mean, it's risky. Letting the oath resolve was risky. He definitely got the Crucible strip mine lock that he wanted.
He did.
But this Forbidden Orchard off the top is now a problem.
So Brian Kelly's best shot now is the Ifro just plays Tiny Jace and passes.
I don't think Eric's tired enough to make that mistake.
I am.
All right. How about we just draw 3, says Eric.
Brian could counter it, but he's just in such terrible shape here.
Wasteland, Misdirection, and a dig. What Eric needs is an Abrupt Decay for Oath of Druids, is what Eric needs.
And Brian needs Orchard.
Mox Jet is not an Orchard, although it is mana that can't be strip mined.
Yeah, it's a reasonable thing you can do with your life.
Eric does not. Oh, he couldn't tap out for Dig Free Chime anyway. Another Wasteland doesn't really do much. You can run the old double strip your fetch, but he's just like, whatever. I'm just going to tap out for Jace the Mind Sculptor. You didn't drop a land last turn anyway.
I like Fate Sealing. He just doesn't want Brian to draw Orchard. Nothing else matters.
Oh, Fate Sealing sounds great. Yeah, I love it. So now the only way Brian finds Forbidden Orchard is if both copies wind up exactly on top of his deck.
He has a 1-turn window where he can crack his fetch to draw it.
Fair. Yeah, I don't know that there's anything Eric would push to the bottom other than an Orchard there.
Nothing else matters. Also, Brian won't have the opportunity to make that scry shuffle play anymore because Ifro is just going to double Wasteland him.
Yup. Strip your fetch. You want to sack it? I'm okay with that. I'll put Strip Mine back into play and kill the new one. Some chance Brian might decline because of that. Yeah, Brian's done. He's not even going to let Eric Thoughtseize him. I thought Brian might concede to a Thoughtseize because Brian hates discard so much. That was Eric's next plan, was Thoughtseize. But
that would have made Brian even less happy.
Even less happy. So congratulations, Eric Froelich. We have never had a VSL playoff without him, and we still won't. He's made every single playoff. Season 6, 6th time Eric is going to make the playoffs.
Ifro didn't even drop a match. This was double elimination, but for Ifro, that was not the case. He didn't lose a single match. He went undefeated through this. So
true story.
All of us took 2 losses, except Ifro, who has better things to do than lose a match.
True story. The guy's good at Magic. Good at Vintage.
He earned it by a wide margin. Congrats, Eric Froelich. That was a resounding victory.
And I may join you and go pick up some Leovolds for my Magic Online account. I may need to take them out for a spin this weekend in the Power 9.
It's not on the third one when I got crushed by him.
Fair enough. All right, well, there's the bracket. That is going to do it for this evening. Do come back next week, guys. It'll be playoff time. Eric is in the playoffs. He is going to be joined by Paul Rietzel, Oliver Tew, and Rodrigo Tagores. So the 4 of them will come up with a new set of decks. Who knows what crazy metagame we're going to see. I don't know. It's like Oliver definitely seems to like the Mentor decks, but Paul is wide open. Eric is wide open. And Rodrigo's pretty freaking open himself.
Yeah, we have finals that are going to be full of players with unpredictable decks, which I think is cool. It'll make it exciting.
Totally. Same time, same place next week, guys. We may even have a little special something. We're working on it. We'll see. We'll see if it comes together. But
restriction of Gush or a new 8 Planeswalker.
Who knows? It could be anything. See you guys next week. Go get some sleep, Rich.
Good night.
Good night.